The courtroom air was so heavy you could almost feel it pressing against your chest. Every eye was fixed on Martell Holt, the once charming, camera-ready reality star now sitting before a judge in a silence thick enough to cut through. But this wasn't just another scene for television. This was real life. And what happened next would change everything for him. The tension had been building for months, whispers swirling around Huntsville about how Martell's behavior behind closed doors had started to spiral. Yet nothing could prepare anyone for the explosion that would unfold inside that courtroom, an eruption so raw, so shocking, that even the Guardian Ad Litem, a neutral advocate for his children, was left speechless. For years, viewers had watched Martell's life play out like a movie: the rise, the betrayal, the downfall. But what nobody expected was that his own pride would become his biggest enemy. And on this day, in front of the court, his anger finally caught up with him. It wasn't just about custody anymore. It was about control, ego, and the desperate need to prove something, even if it meant losing everything he once loved. Before the chaos that filled the courtroom, Martell's story had already been one of beauty, love, and ambition. When love and marriage, Huntsville first began, Martell and Melody Shari were the couple everyone admired. They were young, successful, and building a real estate empire that looked unstoppable. Together, they embodied the picture of Black excellence, a power couple inspiring others to dream big. But behind the polished smiles and luxury homes, cracks had begun to form. Fame has a way of magnifying everything: the good, the bad, and the secrets people try to hide. And Martell's secret would become the spark that burned down everything he'd built. The affair was more than a headline, it was a betrayal that tore through a family, leaving behind wounds that time couldn't easily heal. Melody's heartbreak wasn't just emotional, it was public. Fans watched as she tried to hold herself together, raising their 4 children while rebuilding her life from the ground up. And Martell, instead of stepping back to reflect, seemed to grow more defiant. His charm turned into arrogance. His confidence into defensiveness. What started as a simple disagreement between 2 people became a battlefield of words, court filings, and online accusations. As their custody battle deepened, the court appointed a Guardian Ad Litem, a neutral voice to represent their children's best interests. It was a sign that the situation had reached a critical point. But Martell, being used to having the final say, wasn't ready to be challenged, especially not by someone who didn't see him as the hero of his own story. Still, many hoped this legal process might finally bring peace. Maybe Martell would see this as a chance to show growth. But instead, what unfolded was something no one saw coming. When Martell walked into that courtroom, witnesses say he looked confident, almost rehearsed. His suit was sharp, his expression calm, but beneath that composure was a storm waiting to break. Things started smoothly at first. Questions were asked, answers given. But when the Guardian Ad Litem began raising concerns about his cooperation and communication, Martell's entire demeanor changed. It started with a glare. Then a sharp tone. Soon, voices rose. The tension snapped like a rubber band stretched too tight. Those inside the courtroom described it as an emotional meltdown, a mix of pride, anger, and disbelief. One witness claimed Martell interrupted the Guardian multiple times, accusing them of being biased, of not understanding his side. Others said he became defensive, refusing to accept that his actions, not editing, not production, not the media, were the reason things had gotten this far. Then came the words that turned the hearing into chaos. "Let's thug it," he allegedly said, a phrase that immediately echoed beyond those courtroom walls, flooding social media within hours. Whether he meant it literally or not didn't matter. The damage was done. The Guardian Ad Litem was reportedly stunned, sitting frozen as the judge called for order. You could hear a pin drop as Martell continued to argue, visibly emotional, his voice cracking between frustration and disbelief. For the first time, it wasn't about cameras or fans. There were no producers, no edited scenes, just raw emotions spilling out in a room where silence is supposed to command respect. What made it even worse was that this wasn't a private matter anymore. Word spread fast, especially in Huntsville, where people talk and rumors travel like wildfire. By the end of the day, the entire internet was buzzing with the story of Martell Holt's courtroom explosion. Melody Shari, who had remained calm and composed throughout most of their public fallout, didn't need to say much. Her silence spoke volumes. While Martell's name was trending for all the wrong reasons, she quietly posted a quote that read, "Peace looks good on me." Fans immediately interpreted it as a subtle response, not revenge, but release. Melody had become a symbol of grace under pressure. Every time Martell's chaos made headlines, she chose peace. Her strength didn't come from shouting back, but from showing the world that healing is louder than anger. Her focus remained on her children, her music, and her businesses. She had built something of her own, a life where her happiness no longer depended on anyone else's approval. And that independence seemed to irritate Martell even more. Meanwhile, his social media told a different story. Posts filled with gym selfies, cryptic messages about being misunderstood, and motivational quotes that sounded more defensive than inspiring. Fans weren't fooled. They could see the cracks. What once made Martell charismatic, his confidence, his fire, his determination, now came across as pride and denial. People began to question whether he was really fighting for his kids or just fighting to save face. Inside the love and marriage, Huntsville circle, reactions were cautious but revealing. Kimmy Scott, known for her calm wisdom, posted a short message about emotional maturity, a statement that fans quickly connected to Martell's outburst. Marceau Scott shared a quote about discipline and control, while Letitia added her own cryptic message about letting people expose themselves. No one mentioned Martell by name, but the subtext was clear. They'd seen this pattern before. They'd watched him lose his temper, blame others, and refuse accountability. And now, it had reached the point where even the court was witnessing it firsthand. What nobody expected was how quickly the Guardian Ad Litem's report would shift the narrative. Sources close to the case whispered that the report painted a troubling picture, describing Martell as defensive, dismissive, and unwilling to communicate effectively with Melody. It wasn't just about what happened in the courtroom that day. It was about a repeated pattern of behavior that raised red flags about his ability to co-parent. For a man who built his image on being a hands-on father, that kind of assessment was devastating. The fallout was immediate. Social media lit up with reactions. Fans who once defended him now began questioning his intentions. The hashtag Let's Thug It started trending, used sarcastically by users mocking his behavior. Memes appeared overnight. Clips from past episodes where Martell argued or lost his temper resurfaced, each one adding fuel to the fire. But what hit the hardest wasn't the jokes or the memes, it was the realization that Martell might have finally reached the point of no return. For years, he had been the charismatic center of attention. But now, that spotlight had turned harsh. Every move he made was under scrutiny. Every word was dissected. And as much as he tried to control the narrative, the truth kept slipping through the cracks. The same pride that once drove him to success was now isolating him. Melody, on the other hand, continued to rise. Her fans rallied behind her, calling her the definition of resilience. She was no longer just Martell's ex-wife, she was her own story, her own brand, her own empire. Her silence became her weapon. She didn't need to speak because the world was already on her side. What made this entire situation even more heartbreaking was remembering who Martell used to be. There was a time when he was seen as a leader, a visionary, a proud father who wanted to build a legacy for his family. But somewhere along the way, ego overshadowed love, and perception became more important than peace. The courtroom explosion wasn't just a random outburst. It was a reflection of years of unresolved pain, anger, and regret finally breaking loose. Even those who criticized him admitted one thing: Martell is hurting. Beneath all the bravado and defensiveness lies a man who can't accept the consequences of his own actions. Instead of healing, he fights. Instead of reflecting, he blames. And in doing so, he's losing the very thing he claims to care about most: his children. The Guardian Ad Litem's report, according to sources, could heavily influence the judge's decision regarding custody and visitation. A negative impression might not strip him of his rights entirely, but it could change the balance of power. And for someone like Martell, who's used to control, that's the ultimate loss. Meanwhile, behind the cameras, production insiders are reportedly debating how much of this will make it onto the next season of Love and Marriage, Huntsville. The franchise thrives on real-life drama, but even they know some moments are too raw to exploit. Still, fans are already predicting that the tension between Martell and the rest of the cast will dominate the new season. People want to see accountability. They want to know if Martell will finally face himself. But if history has shown anything, it's that Martell rarely backs down. He often doubles down, sometimes to his own detriment. And that's where this story becomes truly tragic. Because at his core, Martell isn't evil. He's human. Flawed. Proud. Wounded. And stuck in a battle between who he was and who he's become. The courtroom incident didn't just expose his anger, it revealed his pain. His frustration. His inability to let go of control. For Melody, it was another reminder of how far she's come. Her calm demeanor, her steady growth, her quiet strength, they all stood in stark contrast to Martell's chaos. She had turned her pain into power. And that's something no court, no rumor, no scandal could take away. Fans often say that Melody's glow-up is her revenge. But she doesn't see it that way. Her victory isn't about proving Martell wrong, it's about proving herself right. As for Martell, he's standing at a crossroads. The world isn't laughing anymore. The court isn't filming a reality show. There's no audience to clap for his comebacks or cheer for his redemption arc. This is real life. And the only way forward is through humility, something he's struggled with for years. In the weeks since the courtroom explosion, Martell's public appearances have reportedly grown quieter. The once constant posts have slowed down. Insiders say he's been advised to seek therapy, to focus on personal growth, and to repair his co-parenting relationship with Melody for the sake of their children. Whether he takes that advice remains to be seen. But what's clear is that the world is watching closely. Every step he takes now could either rebuild what's broken or shatter it completely. Because when the cameras fade and the court sessions end, all that remains are the choices he's made. What nobody expected was how much this would change the way people viewed him. Once seen as the ambitious husband chasing success, Martell is now viewed as a cautionary tale, a reminder that pride can destroy even the strongest foundation. The Guardian Ad Litem's shock wasn't just about the outburst. It was about witnessing a man unravel in real time, a man so desperate to be right that he forgot what truly mattered. And maybe that's the saddest part of all. Because Martell Holt didn't lose everything overnight. He lost it piece by piece, every time he refused to listen, every time he chose anger over peace, and every time he let his ego speak louder than his heart. Now, all that's left is the hope that he learns before it's too late. Melody's chapter continues to bloom. Her faith, her focus, her peace, they're proof that even after betrayal, you can still rebuild. And for Martell, maybe this fall will finally be the wake-up call he needs. Maybe this time, the lesson will stick. Because redemption is still possible. But only if he chooses it. Until then, the story of Martell Holt stands as a warning that no amount of fame or charm can hide the truth forever. And when that truth finally breaks through, even the strongest faade can crumble. And somewhere in that quiet courtroom in Huntsville, when the shouting faded and the judge called for order, one thing became painfully clear. The show might go on, but for Martell Holt, the script has changed forever.